your top level of social capital is your friends and your family and your close friends, immediate family, close friends, right? But what do you see happening at a restaurant? You walk in, there's a family of 5, and 5 people are sitting there like this. And they're communicating with people that are way down the list of social capital, bridging social capital. They're not bonding social capital. They're not the people you're going to call when you need prayer at 2 a.m.
When you say that, you mean that they're communicating with people that really, and a lot of times, don't matter, and ignoring the closest relationships that are sitting with them at the table.
It happens all the time. It happens all the time. Spouses are sitting across from each other. I sat in my office years ago with a young man who was going through a divorce. I said, well, tell me a normal evening in your house. He said, we get off work and we sit on opposite sides of the living room and we are on social media. Not together, even. We're doing our own thing across from each other. So Sherry Turkle wrote the book aptly entitled Alone Together. So essentially we are alone together, which happens an enormous amount of the time. I mean, come on, there's so many, Ryan, there's so many statistics nowadays. We are finally figuring it out. We don't, the reason I wrote the book is to tell us what to do about it. But I saw a statistic recently that 1 out of 3 adults will never marry. That's staggering.
Wow.
And, why? I think there's a lot of things that have changed, but, kind of a perfect storm, maybe with COVID, the Me Too movement and digital communication, smartphones, social media, which promised to connect people, but did not keep that promise. It's made people more isolated.
Yeah.
I quote so many articles in the book. There's one article that was called, "Is Facebook making us more lonely?" Yes, it is. It's making us more lonely. So it promises connection and delivers isolation. So here's the bottom line of that. And I say it in the book, prioritize your presence.
Yeah.
Be here now. Talk to the person you're sitting across from. Put your phone down. Put your phone away. I talked to Connie Bernard one time. She said one of them, go ahead.
Would you say that in a very simplistic form, that's the answer, is to prioritize the relationships that are closest to you? Put the phone down, put the technology away.
Absolutely.
In its simplest form, and we know that that's not terribly easy at times because we have so many things coming into our world. But that's in its simplistic form. If we can do that, that is the solution.
Absolutely. Well, so I'm not saying throw it away.
Yeah.
But Cal Newport has written Digital Minimalism, and in one of those books, his latest book, I think, is A World Without Email. So he's a best-selling New York Times author who doesn't have a social media account. Interesting. But he talks about using your smartphone to schedule face-to-face. That's a good use of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pick up your phone and say, hey, let's get some coffee.
I'm thinking about, I own a coaching community. We have, a little over 100 people in our coaching community. We get online. We meet by Zoom every week. We talk to one another. We interact with one another in forums. It's a tremendous use of technology to build key things in a person's life. But the purpose of the entire thing is to grow more productive relationships in our life. It's to where we can have a better rhythm of life, where we can understand ourselves better, where we can regulate ourselves better. But ultimately, it's to build more productive relationships, leadership relationships, personal
Sure.
relationships. But we're using that electronic method to get into people's lives and help change that very present relationship in their life, such as leadership relationships or whatnot. Does that make sense?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. And even what we're doing now, we're utilizing
Yeah.
technology for a positive purpose to bring
We couldn't have
attention.
done this a few years ago.
That's exactly right. So there is a tension, right? There's a tension. Yes, but we need to be intentional about the use of technology, right?
Yeah.
So this is what okay, here's the flip side. And this is really handled more in the chapter about self-control. What we don't realize is that there is an attention economy out there.
Mm-hmm.
They're selling our attention by the second. Okay, they're buying our attention by the second. One of the things I quote in that book is they say, if you are not buying the product, you are the product. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. So you're scrolling. Everybody understands when YouTube changed from where you had to search for a video to where just the next one is queued up automatically, and there's a design. So they've hacked our psyche. Okay, the developers have hacked our psyche. Let me go back to a fact that many people know, but the developers wouldn't let their children have this technology. Steve Jobs didn't let his kid have an iPad.
Hmm.
The most popular school in Silicon Valley right now is a school that allows no tech at all. Why? Because they want their kids to be creative. They want their kids to be artistic. They want their kids to think logically and know how to do it in their head, not just find it on their phone. So we're creating a generation of people that don't know much, but they know where to find it.
Yeah.
Obviously, so self-control is a huge part of it. One writer said, maybe this is in Cal Newport's book. One writer said, "I tell everybody you can reach me by phone between 5 and 5:30, Monday through Friday. You want to talk to me? Just call me. 5 o'clock to 5:30." Any weekday, and we can talk on the phone. Why? Because that's his drive time home from work. So he pushes off the text messages and says, "Let's have a live conversation. But he's intentional about it. You know what I'm saying?
And I know that's that's great for him. That didn't work in my world.
I understand.
And, a lot of us use technology every single day for our jobs, for ministry. In the evenings, communicating with ministry leaders. Those are volunteers that are giving of their life,
Sure.
their time, their energy. I'm gonna respond to them and be there for them.
But let me ask you
with
this.
With boundaries.
Right. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
While that is very true, and I totally agree with that, and anxiety is another chapter in the book. The whole FOMO thing. Everybody has this fear of missing out, but here's the suggestion. I have people over to the house. I can say, you know what? Let's set our phones aside, and I'm going to set a timer for 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, we'll check and make sure we don't need to respond to anything. Maybe it's 30 minutes. Maybe we have
maybe it's 2 hours.
Maybe it's 2 hours. Okay, so we can schedule that time where we still can be seen as responsive.